Okay. Item number 2, selection board chair, that is a holdover.
Sorry.
That I neglected to notice. We're not doing that again.
I didn't see it either. We all missed it. So, Pledge of Allegiance. If there's a pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. First order of business is approving the minutes from April 5th. If anyone wants to say. So second?
Second that. Thank you.
Sorry.
And just a point of order, Kayla is taking our notes today. Our Trish was unable to make it, so Kayla's filling in. So thank you to Kayla.
Of course.
Okay, so we have the minutes from April 5th. Anyone have any updates? No? All right. All who approve? Aye. Any not approved? No. Yes. Okay. And then the minutes of April 19th.
Move is written.
And do we have a second?
I'll second.
And any comments? All in favor? Aye.
I'm abstaining.
Okay. Anyone opposed? Zach is abstaining. Okay. Immediate business, public comments are first.
Kimberly Black, Meeting House Hill. Thank you both, Kendra and Zach, followed up on my email about the solar panels and brought to my attention the add-ons were for the whole, the extra warranty and stuff. So the number that was in my email wasn't accurate, specific, just the satellites, but my stance is still really kind of the same about how I feel on solar panel, not satellites, solar panels. Oh my goodness. I'm in space. And I just kind of wanted to share a little bit more about that as I thought more about it myself. I'm not against solar at all. Well, I guess a little bit once I get done with my spiel, but I want to make sure that we're going into this kind of prep investment and change on the building with an awareness to the risks and benefits and what that does. With the idea of safety first and then thinking about micro with safety third. I think my first concern is really to the structure of the building, putting solar panels up on the roof for a roof on a building that was never designed for that. I have been on this roof, as I let Zach know. I did rappel off of approximately that wall from the top down as a child. I realize it's going to change with rocks and weight might not be a factor, but I think structure-wise, when you're mounting larger panels and the amount of winds we've had in different weather seasons, I'm concerned about putting essentially lightning rods on the roof. On top of that, the potential fire hazard that additional electricity causes. We already have electrical components that are always going to be fire hazards. That's just the risk we have to take to using electricity. But to add more of a fire concern to a roof of a building that houses just under 600 people for most of the year is just really concerning to me. It's one more component the fire people have to take into consideration to get up on the roof if it's a solar panel fire versus, do they get the solar panel fire out before they get the people out? We have a small firefighter. We're not Manchester. They're not coming with ladder trucks right out of the gate. How are they going to get up there? That's the safety of everybody in this building first and foremost by putting solar panels on this roof, especially with options of putting them anywhere else, like clear some trees if we needed them, put them on the rocks, the septic field, something. There's some options there. And then just the idea that solar is a green renewable energy, like yes-ish. I mean, they just passed in June the act to ban the materials that come from China as part of forced labor. that's really just what we know about it. There's still heavy components. So when we're looking at green renewable energy as an investment that the whole town is essentially taking, I think we need to think a little bit deeper than what the residential homes are really considering when we're looking at this. And understanding that there's really minimal recycling capabilities for these. So we can recycle the glass, we can recycle the metal. Those are not emissions free. But the toxic components, the hazardous materials, there's really nothing there. Just one second, if you don't mind. There's really nothing there to recycle those. And California is the only state that's put anything labeling solar panels as hazardous waste. So that's really in the future as far as what we're looking at for recycling these kind of things. And I understand we wouldn't own them. It would be another company, but I don't think outsourcing that burden is an appropriate response. I just want to make sure we're really informed on that stuff. So thank you very much for your time.
Hello, Leah McHugh, Harvey Road. I just wanted to follow up on Kim's response a little bit on the solar. My hope for the new roof is to, instead of putting the mounts on the roof, hopefully put them out in the field, positioned so that, the sun is rising east to south. I think that's going to be more beneficial than having to put the structures on top of the roof to angle the solar, which needs to be pitched. I'd really like to see the roof used for HVAC units. I don't know if you guys are doing a complete renovation or if this is going to be, a complete replacement of our current system, or if this is going to be just an update to the system. Per my email, I highly recommend doing, an entire new HVAC system. The upstairs has been an issue for many years. We're using these very small units just to try to cool it down. It's very hot upstairs. I think updating to a brand new system that will allow for, with the drop ceilings, you can run the duct through the drop ceilings and then place your units on the roof. And allow for AC as well as HEPA filters to be implemented, which I think is going to help a lot. So I just wanted to make sure that we kind of put that bug in everybody's ear. I know solar is, up and coming. It's the thing to do. I just feel like ground mounts would be the best way to go. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comments?
Greg Whitmore, North Road. So I'm hoping that, I saw that high school planning was on the agenda tonight. So I'm hoping that I'm going to hear that at least one, maybe multiple schools have been invited to future school board meetings to, talk about what they offer, what they can offer the students at Deerfield. I know it would help to clear up a lot of confusion and concerns and really get people excited about the idea of, what these options could bring them. I'm curious, and I think it was maybe a bit of misunderstanding on my part, but was there floated last meeting a 1-year Concord extension? Was that floated by somebody? Like a 1-year contract, something along that line?
There was one option that we mentioned. We mentioned a bunch of options.
Okay, was there a basis behind that? Or was it just the idea we put out there? Was there any reasoning?
Looking at all the options. Yes.
Okay, all right. I mean, that's certainly not an option that I would ever want to hear considered. It's certainly not the message that the town sent out. So while it may be great for people who really want Concord and will give them that sense of security, the other, it was like a 60-40 split. The 60% who voted, not to have that contract would be deeply disappointed if they thought their child might be going somewhere else. And then they find, at least freshman year, you're getting forced into going to Concord again, if that is an option that is pursued. All right. So keep it on the table for students who want to go there, great. But, the town very clearly stated what they want. So I'm going to be poking you every couple of weeks to make sure that, we're pursuing that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Harold Rhodes, Church Street. I couldn't ask for a better intro from the first two speakers because I hope this body will talk with the Energy Committee and the town about non-roof based solar, which might keep some people happy. Anyway, that's not why I stood up. I'm really here to any contributions from the school board or the school for the Dooryard Gazette. We publish 4 times a year. I've got cards that will tell you what the deadlines are for submissions. But it's, I think it's a viable medium for getting your message out if you're interested in reaching the 70% of the town that doesn't come here every day. So I would encourage that. Thank you very much.
Carol, can I just ask, when's the next issue going out? Like when will you last the next episode?
I tell you, I'm just putting all the right segues in. It just happened. I don't have a leather case. When oh, there you go. For all my cards.
It's been reused, it's good.
What's that?
You've reused it.
Absolutely.
That's a Yankee card holder.
Yeah.
Everybody gets one of these. Band-Aid. Anyway, thanks. And on the back of each one of these is the publication schedule. Well, oh, there you go, which tells you when deadlines are. And there's a little bit of flexibility. Not much. There you go again.
We're not giving you paper airplanes.
Well, don't give me pizza. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Any other public comments? Okay. All right, so agenda review. We have a pretty packed agenda tonight. We have 2 consent items. We have 1 more. Okay, so we have Dale invoices, the landscaping contract, and then a request about summer buses. Do any of the, none of those are non-public? Perfect. Okay, then review of correspondence, facility updates, voting at DCS, high school planning. Does anyone have anything to add to immediate business? Okay. Then we'll do our board updates, then we'll do policy review, informational items, public comments.
And we do, oh, sorry, we do need a non-public.
Okay. What got there?
Which one's higher? B.
Small letter B, non-public. No additional consent items after that. And then appointments and adjournment. Yep. Great. Review of correspondence should be in our packet, which I have not looked at yet. I believe there's only 2 emails that everyone got. Does anyone recall any other emails? Both of which we've had our public talk about. The first was from Kim Black on April 20th about the roof add-on consideration. And the second was from Leah McHugh, April 20th also, about suggestions for HVAC. Those will be attached to our meeting minutes.
Can I, just in regards to the HVAC, can I just, I guess, throw something out there? So, when we were discussing, a potential addition on the building, that was one of the items that was discussed in the renovation part of the project. Putting rooftop units, reducting the building, and adding AC in that fashion is not a project we would be able to undertake without relocating the students out of those parts of the building. You basically have to get the building back to the concrete walls to explore anything like that. So although I'll speak for myself, I love the idea of adding AC to the building without a larger project and a larger scale being explored where we can actually empty out the gut parts of the building and fully renovate other parts of the existing structure. It's not something we can do. We may be able to explore AC in the unit ventilators. But, I love the idea, but, when we gave the community an opportunity to discuss that and a plan to do that, it was shot down, and people that are advocating it for it now were the ones who are pretty vocal about shooting down that project, so I just want to keep that in mind.
And when you say we could explore with the unit ventilators, is that the project that Chris has on his sort of timeline for the next coming
Yeah.
years?
And whether or not it's feasible in those units is yet to be determined, but dropping all the ceilings out of the second floor, cutting rooftop penetrations, putting rooftop units on, rewiring in the rooftop units, ducting the entire second floor, getting drops out of the first floor, gutting all the ceilings out of the first floor, ducting everything into the first floor. Not while we have kids here.
Not a summer project.
It's not a summer project, it's a year and a half long project.
Next work session, should we add building conversation?
Yes, next work session, I would like to add, building issues. Oops. We did skip consent, my bad.
It's okay.
Anyone else have anything further review of correspondence? We did skip it consent, so we will go backwards to C, consent agenda. We have Dale invoices.
There's 2 months worth. March and April both, elementary and high school.
Okay, so doesn't matter if we do by month or, okay, we'll start with March. Elementary school buses for March. Can we read the total?
Yep.
Okay, total for 19 days is $30,757.77.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. March for high school, 2 buses for 18 days. The total is $14,679.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. You got that?
Can I make a change on the first one though? 3757 point what?
7-7.
7-7.
Thank you.
Okay, April, elementary school, 14 days, total balance of $22,663.62.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And then April high school, we have 2 buses for 15 days. Total amount is $12,232.50.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Okay. Then we have landscaping. What do we have to do with
Do
landscaping?
you want to do the other Dale one first, and then Chris can talk about
Yes.
landscaping?
Please.
While we're on the same track. So for new board members, for the past couple of years, Concord High started a summer orientation process for students, and the board has approved sending buses so that we can get our incoming freshmen to the summer orientation program. So Kelly had asked if you would like to offer that again this summer.
I would like to, so I move that we offer the high school orientation transportation.
Second.
And it's for 1 week?
It's been 3
days.
It's been 3 days at 3 different times.
Multiple
during the summer.
sessions,
Okay.
yeah.
So it's
And they-
9 days basically.
They've been great about trying to get Deerfield students into like groups as much as possible to minimize.
Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
Looks like it's 4 days. Which is
Ask Chris to come up.
Yes, I would love, Chris, if you would come talk to us about landscaping.
Good evening. Where would you like to start?
Where would you like to start?
Let's
We
start
have,
with
I have,
landscaping.
yeah,
I received one bid for landscaping, Blue Sky Landscaping. Looking for the board's approval to move forward with that contract for 1 year.
Does it have everything that you were looking for?
He does.
Is it the same company as last time?
No, it's not. It's a new company. Last company was North Point Properties.
How does that compare to what we put in the budget? I didn't think to look.
They're high.
What's in the budget rate? Did we budget
30.
for?
What?
What did we budget for? Do you remember?
I think 30.
So when I look at this, there's two different dates, Chris. I was
Yep,
trying
there's to finish out the rest of this fiscal year. And then another date to start the new contract, July 1 through,
Okay, so that's where our 24 months and 12 months contract.
correct.
Okay. So then you're looking for having them finish out for the next 7 weeks,
Mm-hmm.
and then a contract, next year's contract will be 28,000
Yes,
plus wherever it's finishing out this year.
on this year's budget and then start with a fresh budget, correct?
All right.
Does our contract from last year not extend through this school year?
I canceled them. I didn't
Okay.
like their service.
Gotcha.
You said 7 weeks,
What?
7 weeks to finish this year?
7 weeks
Okay.
finish this year.
But that's included in this 2807, the spring cleanup, or is that?
Yep, there should be
Nitrogen.
2 spring cleanups.
Okay, gotcha.
Patty, the 23-24 has, it's 25,000 for lawn maintenance, but there's also turf care, athletic field, playground maintenance.
Well, turf care isn't in this. That's fertilizer.
So we
That's what it
25K.
is. So the total amount is 52,000 for that, for the whole those things, but lawn maintenance contract says 25,000.
So the 28,070, Chris, is that the completion of,
That's a full year,
that's next year's contract?
yes.
20, okay. And then we're plus for this year, the 5520, the 600, and the mowings, processors, no, I didn't process.
4,800 for spring cleanup.
Yeah. So I guess the first question is this contract has a spring cleanup in it, but that would be next year's spring cleanup, correct?
Correct.
And you sent this out, this was the one you sent out to bid and then you sent back out to bid?
Yes, because we had one bid that was incomplete.
Okay. A different bidder or the same bidder?
A different bidder.
Okay,
And they didn't rebid.
No,
okay. And then you only got one bid the second time around?
yes.
Okay. All right.
So is this one contract or is it two for the remainder of this year and then next year? Do you need one or two?
I think you
motions?
could do it in one motion as long as you specify in the motion that it's starting now and then the entire next fiscal year as well.
Does anyone want to make that motion?
Move to award the landscape maintenance to Blue Sky
For the remainder of this school year and then all of next year?
through June 30th of 2024.
Second.
Any discussion?
I'm just curious about, I have an invested interest, and it says mulch beds. Like there are gardens that are around the school, just right on the edge of school that I've noticed are all completely overgrown. Is that part of this?
Yes, that'll be part of spring cleanup.
There is certain
Are you
beds
volunteering?
that,
I put the garden in.
I know, that's why I asked.
there's certain beds that I know in the past, the contractors have been asked not to touch.
Yeah.
Because they were,
Yeah, well, they're supposed to be part of the curriculum at the school, but I guess they're not being taken care of.
Right.
So that's what
Any other discussion on the motion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Unanimous. Okay. Okay, facility updates.
Parking lot.
Yes. Saw
Received
some
the
things.
prints today from Keith Nordstrom. He had me,
Hallelujah.
right?
Hallelujah.
do we have those digital by chance? I know they weren't gonna drive this afternoon or.
Did you
late
send
morning.
them electronically?
Yes, I did to you.
Okay, so
Yeah.
can you get those
I'll pop
in
them in,
the
yeah.
drive?
They are. I have a couple of questions. To each Nordstrom. I can get you my notes if you'd like.
What are your questions? Just as a talking point.
As of right now on the prints, he has 2 handicap spots, which I think interfere with total access around the building 24/7. If any emergency vehicle needed to get around the building, the 2 handicap spots would be filled with vehicles, not allowing full access. I'd like to go back to Keach Nordstrom, get them to redesign that.
Oh, boy.
I think Steve Keach already said that he had a couple things that he saw that he wanted to redesign, and we haven't been able to compare notes yet. So I will,
Is it just removing the 2 handicap spots and sliding them up the hill?
yes, it's just relocation.
Okay, so that's not really a redesign, that's more just changing the way you paint it out
Right.
and then changing the prints accordingly.
Yeah,
Good.
That's not a huge job. Do you know how many spots you had calculated in?
104,
And when we talked the first time, do you recall how many you thought we needed?
90 something is what we currently hold in the parking lot.
Was the spots, the handicap spots your own question for him right now, is just sliding those up? I can see on the plans you're concerned about.
The flow.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if currently, could you get a fire truck along that side of the building if you needed to? Could they sneak in between the modulars and all that stuff? So you're just trying to maintain that flow?
Yes.
If we move them, do you know if we're still compliant with like ADA guidelines?
That-
We'll have to,
Yeah,
there'll be
okay.
no question that we have to, so he will make it happen.
Okay.
Yep.
And to his prints, I didn't check when I was over there, do his prints include paving along or completing a ribbon of asphalt around the building as well?
Yes, it goes from the
Asphalt to
entire
asphalt.
asphalt to asphalt.
So we would have the solid surface requirements, no removal of winter as well.
That's correct.
Okay. I see the elevations that are on there. Obviously, I haven't had a chance to study the drawings, but the elevations appear to address rainwater concern and runoff concern.
Yes.
So the big things that we have an obligation to do is obviously is have some communication with the planning board and conservation.
Mhm.
Now we have something to discuss. We haven't had something to discuss yet until earlier today. So we probably wanna,
And he agreed he would come to that presentation.
I think you should come to that
Yeah.
presentation. And then I think probably Kendra wanted to try to set it up so we invite the planning board and the
Yeah.
conservation commission to come here, we'll schedule some time. And then do it that way so that we can get all the interested parties involved.
What is the timeline that we need to be doing this
2
in?
months ago.
Okay. Perfect.
We
Love
need to
that.
get on a schedule. If the objective is to get it painted for this summer, we need to get a bid out. That process is gonna take, call it a month, right? And you need to get on the schedule. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that we couldn't try to figure out if it's spilled into the school year and you had to have staff parking along the road or up behind the ball field or something like that, but it would be a nuisance, right?
Correct.
Can we try for the next meeting?
Okay.
Can we try for the next meeting? Do we think that's practical? If we send out requests tomorrow for people to join us, do we need to have a public hearing on this? No.
No.
Okay, so just, agenda item number 1, come at 6 to talk about this?
For the next school board meeting?
Yeah, which is May 17th.
Are you gonna invite Steve?
I am.
Okay.
And then we need to get a hold of the Conservation Commission. I believe Rita is still the chair.
She is the chair, and the next meeting is the 8th.
The Conservation Commission's next meeting is the 8th.
Next meeting is the 8th, yeah.
You're on the Conservation Commission?
I'm even in charge of their money.
You're even,
Frightful thought, isn't it?
Kendra, can I step out of line for a second and communicate with
Please
Errol for a
do,
moment?
please.
Carol, would you ask the Conservation Commission if they'd be willing to come to a meeting in 2 weeks?
I plan to raise it, maybe if we had something to show on the Monday meeting, we could be a little better prepared.
Could we,
The prints, if they're digital, we can obviously provide the prints. There
Can I
might
just
be a
email
couple
them to
small-
you?
We can do that.
I'll do that.
Okay, so we're gonna send you the prints,
Excellent.
and you're gonna communicate with the Conservation Commission,
If they're still talking to me.
if they're still talking to you, and invite them to a board meeting here.
When you identify when the date is, yeah.
the 17th?
17th?
Yes.
At 6.
That's it.
2 steps ahead of you.
And then I will reach out to Pete.
You want to do that?
I-
That's fine.
I can.
You are
I certainly
welcome
don't need to, but I can. I believe Pete's still chairing the planning board.
He,
And I
He is.
believe the warrant article obligated us to the Conservation Commission. and the planning board.
Yeah.
From 2015.
I'm not sure if they'll have a meeting before
Well, they have a
next
meeting next
Wednesday.
week.
Yeah, the 10th. Okay. So they can discuss whether they want to come at their meeting on the 10th. Perfect. That'll be the plan.
And then if we can get to a consensus, the board
Get
could
the bids.
approve getting the bids out, which is gonna lead Chris probably to his next thing based on what I read in the drive.
They're recommending the
There's
short
an
document, right?
83-page scope or contract, and then there's a short 5-page version.
The short one I printed, the 87 one I did.
Yeah, no, don't print it. Yeah, don't waste the page.
So will Keach draft the scope of work regardless?
Yes,
Okay. I'm fine with the short form, presuming, I'm speaking for myself. Keach is the one drafting the scope of work. And it's
yes.
a detailed scope of work. Obviously, we have an engineering set of prints, so they have to basically build this on the engineering
Correct.
plans, but.
Yep.
An 83-page document on a project that size may deter a lot of people from even looking at it.
Yeah. I'm fine with that. Do we need a vote on?
Are we going to invite or pass these prints on to fire department and police to get their input on anything
We
like
should
that?
invite them to a meeting on the 17th.
I can handle that.
Yeah. that's fine.
Mhm.
That way, if Steve is here, everybody that is involved as a stakeholder.
Can ask their
potentially can
questions
ask
and-
questions,
yeah.
and Steve could back, respond, defend,
Good thought.
et cetera, et cetera. It'd be great if we could get them up on the thingy when we have the meeting,
The thingy?
the thingy, wherever we're meeting.
I assume we'll be upstairs.
Yeah, we can use the touch screen.
There's also, currently, we only have 2 telephone poles that actually have lights on them. There is proposal for a total of 5 light poles on the outer side of the parking field.
Woods side or the driveway side?
What?
The woods side or the driveway side?
Driveway side,
Okay.
just so we don't have to string wires across or put poles in the middle of the parking field. That's not covered, that's being left up to us, because extra cost to have another contractor to do it. My plan is to call East Coast just to get their advice on what to do. I've already been in touch with New Hampshire Co-op to get that part started, to see what I need to do to get additional wire in the poles. So I'll be reporting in on that.
Can we talk to Steve about just putting in the scope, the bases,
A what?
the pole bases, the precast pole bases, the light poles? We make a precast one. I mean, the poles
The
on top of
concrete.
it. Yeah, it's just a concrete,
Yeah, we can do that. Yep.
and that way, from there, we can take it, but that way, if we have to deal with the lights 6 months down the road, the prep work's done and everything's there.
Yeah.
So I think at a minimum, we should try to get that done, because it's the excavator contractors.
Yeah.
You just want to mention that in the scope.
I think we can talk about the short form versus long form at the next meeting, but does anyone have thoughts about?
So, well, I guess my thoughts are, if we can give Steve some guidance, there's a chance he can actually
Okay,
produce a bid package, and then we can approve it and get it published immediately if we can get to that point.
I don't think anyone bidding on paving our parking lot is gonna fill an 89 page.
No, I can promise you they're not. And the
Yeah.
only, they're just not, because it's
Not worth
ridiculous
it.
for a project that size. That being said, for us to have any snowball's chance in hell of getting this done, we really need to put a completion date in the project and the scope. But timetable wise, we basically, if we're gonna get it done this year, we're a month behind already.
Right.
So we gotta get after it.
Thank you.
Do you have other facility?
Not this time.
Thank you, Chris. So the next agenda item is a request from the town to have us consider moving voting, town voting to DCS. The letter was attached, or was in last week's drive, or last meeting's drive, well, I guess 2 meetings ago probably. But they requested that we consider hosting voting here because the space is limited at town hall. So it's hard when there's a large turnout. There was also, as we all know, the March vote was postponed due to a strong winter storm. And one of the reasons that we had to move the voting date was because there wasn't a standby generator at town hall.
We have heat. should add.
We have heat.
We have
Yeah.
And it's on.
Yeah, so during, a vote, if there's a loss of power and we have the voting machines, like that could be a real disaster. And they think the school is better set up for a potential loss of power situation. This Deerfield Community School is a facility already designed to accommodate a large number of people. It has a sprinkler system, which apparently town hall does not. A backup generator and a gymnasium, which would allow for an efficient way for people to move through the voting process. So,
Can I just, one consideration that you may have is, when we do host voting here, I would want there to be no students in the building.
yes.
So it's just a commitment from the board to know that, and for the administration, if we're gonna do it here, it would be a non-school day.
Why would you want that?
The safety for mixing public and students. Yeah.
Because I was just thinking, when I was a kid, I loved it when it was voting day at my school.
Yep. I wish things were the way they were when you were a kid.
I think traditionally there's
Way back when.
there has been at least
Back
for
in
the,
1996.
for the past few years, there has been professional days on voting days.
Which also leads to a parking problem. Because we'll have
Yeah, the parking, you'd have
staff.
to have staff park up there,
Yeah.
back there, which, well, we've done that.
Or voters.
But that's a pain.
Well,
Staff will get you first.
Where would Mrs. Whitney be parking?
in my spot that I claimed.
So I certainly, we'd be looking at, obviously, there'd be a day in March
Yes.
and a day in November.
Every other year, so
Every
sometimes 3.
other years. And I'm trying, what's the third day that I'm not thinking? Primary.
If there's a primary
There's a primary.
and a general election and
So there's
March, so
3.
sometimes there's 3. Most of the time there's 2.
Okay. I certainly, although it typically hasn't gone our way lately, I do think making voting as convenient as possible for people is important. I don't have an issue with it myself.
Anyone else have thoughts?
Yes.
Administration, please.
Right now, we have our professional development on November 7th, which is traditionally voting day. Is that correct? Which is all
It's
Tuesday.
a second
Tuesday,
Tuesday.
yeah. So would people be comfortable? Well, that's also our parent-teacher conference day. So I guess the
Yeah,
question
that's not
is,
gonna work.
Actually, it could
Well,
work perfectly.
Yeah.
I
Well, you
guess-
never know.
I guess that would be a
It
question.
would be a lot of cars.
Yeah, so, and then,
And our beautiful new parking lot.
and I guess the other concern would be what is the cleanup and cleanup as it would affect the gym? Like, is it something that
I
they
know,
can
yeah, I know.
put in right at 3 o'clock on a Monday night and clean up by 8 AM on a Wednesday?
That's true.
Because that's a
To
lot
have-
of instructional.
Right,
time.
to have PE in the morning, yeah. And I know, I think,
So the Board of Selectmen are technically responsible for setting up
Mhm.
the voting place. So I mean, I think a follow-up conversation would be with the Board of Selectmen is how do we turn your voting space back into our educational space? Because that burden is one of their responsibilities.
Yeah, I'm wondering about the parking too, because I mean, having gone and voted a lot in this town, it's not like there's more than like 30, 40 cars
yeah,
at a time.
on a March
I mean,
day,
it
it's
does
probably
come and go,
not
come
gonna
and
be an
go,
issue,
right?
yeah.
So I don't know that that would be such a big deal.
And we have our SAU PD day is always on voting day.
That was my next question.
Yeah.
You guys have March.
That's what
days.
we always do. That's why we do it, because we have other
We
schools that vote in.
already align these days off. The only day that we don't align is primary.
Fall. In March, we always do.
So, I mean, I don't know that there's much of an impact instructionally to students from a school schedule aspect, because we use those as PD days anyway, so the kids are already home. It's just a matter of,
At night, getting it torn down to be ready for the next morning.
because
And maybe would they make the exception of having any primary elections still at the town hall? You know, this way that we're not having another school day
We already have
every
Deerfield
other
Fair Day.
year and,
Mm.
you know, just to keep
Good
it
point, yeah.
consistent. And your turnout for a primary is not as high as, you know,
I don't think we even have a primary day yet, do we?
I,
Still hanging
No,
out there,
it's up here.
last I knew.
yeah, first donation.
and there will be one.
Yeah, unclear. Okay,
Are they looking to start this next year, does it say,
it,
or when is the start date?
it doesn't
Or just in the
say.
future?
It just says they want to discuss the possibility of moving town voting to the school.
If you, if they want to discuss it, maybe it's just prudent to invite them, the board, you know, probably the town moderator, and then the board or the town administrator, I'm sorry, probably some board members, to come and hear out what they think.
I think that's a great idea. I think probably not until
They could talk about a parking lot if they feel the
Yeah, right. Maybe we could invite them for the business meeting on this June 7th.
Who's gonna do that?
I'm happy to reach out to them.
Were you invited? Select board and moderators.
Anything else on that item? Okay. High school planning.
So we have, the questionnaire is all fleshed out. And, I noticed that, did you do this kind of already? Because I had actually done the same thing, so I wrote almost exactly the same thing you did.
So, yes.
Yeah, okay. So the only thing that, additional thing that I have in this is, I thought we would put a link to the spreadsheet that we're doing that compares the schools. So that parents can look at that spreadsheet, compare the schools before they, fill this out. And I also put it in a Google form, so it'll look a little different in Google form. But
So I know that Nate and I both prepared alternate versions of the survey. Not to make things complicated. We have a bunch of different versions, just to avoid all of us commenting and having a meeting in a Word document by accident. So
That's a good point. So,
So which one are we discussing, I guess?
well, why don't we look at the one that is in our packet?
there are all three of them.
Oh, all three of them.
Yeah.
The one with,
I guess
the one with the
somehow-
background notes, or? Just see, hold it up. Which one is
So
it?
this
Square
is,
with
Oh,
background.
I threw them over here. I see. Okay.
yeah, not to make this more complicated.
Let's just look at the one that has the box.
I
And then
do
anybody
think-
has comments, we can just add to it.
I do think as a preliminary matter, we should discuss the goal of the survey or the questionnaire, right? So in my mind, the information that we are trying to get is less focused on other schools that we should be considering. It is truly focused on if people had to decide between these schools for next year, what are you picking? Because in my view, the goal of this is to determine what we are negotiating or trying to negotiate. So I'm less interested in having like a theoretical, like, if the world is your oyster, where would you go? You know, because I think about the last survey that was done and people were writing in, have Deerfield build their own school, or like, and that's not helpful at this point.
And I think the other thing, the reason we're doing the 5th, 6th, and 7th, because those are the classes that we immediately need to worry about.
Yeah.
So that's why we're only surveying that grade
So
at this time.
is this gonna be, so this isn't going out, this isn't community-wide? I
No,
apologize for
no.
not being here 2 weeks ago, but so
Oh,
this
yeah,
is,
Scott, sorry.
so I'll catch up. Don't worry. So is this a survey, or is this just something that
It's a- well,
the school's gonna,
It's a questionnaire. It's gonna
questionnaire.
be like an enrollment questionnaire.
and this is something the school's gonna handle? And just directly go to those students, or those families, I shouldn't say students, those families?
I mean, it's a great question. I don't know, would love input if the school would be able to help us get this questionnaire out to people, the 5th, 6th, 7th.
Because that's really what it matters for, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And that's,
We're trying to get like actual,
No.
I mean, not like people have to commit 100%, but like
Right.
we need to know,
What are we looking at?
what are we looking at?
Like it says on the top, you know, please note, this is informational only, is being used for informational purposes only by the Deerfield School Board. But like, we don't want to put something out there and get 40% back. I mean, we really need to get answers from most of these
So-
parents.
if we task the school with doing this, then it's not a board survey, right? And then we're not worried about student information or any of that stuff, and we can ask the question like, okay, your student and the grade level of your student, because it's not the
school
board.
survey.
It's not the board survey, it's the school just getting enrollment information for us, which is really a function of, I mean, that's just,
Guidance.
it's a guidance function to a certain extent, right?
So in my version, I did put some background information.
So the box is your version.
The box is mine.
Right, which
That's
is
what we're on.
actually exactly what, it's pretty much exactly what I added this afternoon to my
Okay.
version, so.
Only I do think that having a little bit of context is helpful to people, because it's surprising how many people I talked to before the election, after the election, had no idea sort of what the school situation was or like what they were voting on. So I think giving a little bit of context, you know, the contract is expiring. We're trying to figure out how to best provide our students with a high school education. And we need your input on which schools you would be interested in sending your child to. I think we should limit it to one survey per student. Because otherwise the numbers will get all skewed. So yeah,
When we look at this, again, not here at the last meeting, but like Oyster River, my recollection is they told us to go down, say.
Yeah, so actually, I have updated information on that because I contacted all the schools with the comparison of the schools. And Oyster River got back and said, we cannot take any of your.
So we should strike Oyster River.
Right, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because they don't want us.
Right.
Uh,
I think it's, do you not want to open it up to other, just to see if anybody has another?
I'm honestly pretty uninterested in that, only because we have, like, I don't want to recreate a high school committee,
Yeah.
basically. Like,
We don't have to-
ultimately, the school board has to decide what to do. And this is less of a exploratory survey versus we need to know.
Yeah, we really need
If these are your options, what are you doing?
Should you have option one, option two, option, should you,
That was my one question of like, right, so if only one person picks Pinkerton
And it's out of the
and
mix.
it's out of the
What's your
mix,
second
what,
choice?
yeah,
Yeah.
where would you go?
That's a good idea.
so that-
So we could rank
Right, I
them.
actually, I think I had that on mine, I said something about,
Like, what's your number one choice and then what's your number two choice?
Yeah,
So then you also propose that of these schools, what's your number
Yes,
one
yeah.
choice, what's your
Well,
number
Two
two
questions,
choice?
two
I
different
mean, and there's
questions.
also that question like busing, I mean, if busing isn't an option, would we choose the difference? You know,
So for question 4, I guess wording it, or
So we
setting it
could,
up.
we can't change, we can't have them rank them,
Right, that's what I was gonna say, have them
Just
rank number 4.
you could do that in Google Forms, it's easy.
So that would just be of these options,
Yeah.
Yeah,
do you want 1, 2, and 3, or just 1 and 2? What's your first and second?
Are you
choice?
saying rank 1 through 5?
well, I was thinking 1 through 5 is easy, because I don't know how you're gonna do 1 and 2 in a
Yeah.
Google form, I think you have to.
You'd have to have two
You have to
separate
have it
questions.
ranked.
What's your number one choice? And then another
Right.
question, what's your number two choice?
Yeah, yeah, which we could do if that's what you want to do, I mean, we could do.
Ranking 1 through 5 works. You get the same.
I wonder if you rank them 1 through 5, is the data gonna get a little cloudy? Because
right.
now you're looking at, okay, well, everybody, now you have 50
You
respondents.
don't know how many were, yeah.
Right, so I'm thinking if it's 1 and 2,
We could do that, I mean, we can pick, the first question could be, what's your first choice,
Yeah.
and the second could be, what's your second
second
choice?
choice, okay, so you just get 2 answers.
That's easy.
Do you, sorry, going to the top,
I don't know.
Errol's going to look for the duck, folks.
You were a balloon.
You're in school, Errol, you can't do that.
I think
do you want one survey per student or one survey per family?
No, per student.
Per student.
Because some families might have a student in 5th grade and 7th grade.
And they
So-
might want different schools for them,
Yeah,
for
they
whatever
might.
reason.
And we really, I mean, to get 100% response, if we task guidance with just, send these out to the families, if they don't respond, please call them and say, hey, can I just ask you some questions? We need to get this information back. Is that an unreasonable ask?
Say that again?
So
That was-
send it out, and then
Historical.
if any that you're missing, then we need to follow up with a phone call.
Right, so you send it out to the parents, and then you'd have a list of all the people that responded, and the ones that didn't, if you could follow up with a call.
The 20%.
And they may-
I can
may
let you
say-
know, we our ALMA, to get parents to fill out the required emergency form,
Right,
Right.
it takes us till
January.
January, and we
Maybe
still
March.
have a list of several, maybe dozen of parents.
So we can
Yeah.
start by sending the link to
Yeah.
the questionnaire
and
out
maybe,
to them
maybe
and
you only
see.
follow up a call once, I mean, maybe we don't do it more than
But
once.
you know what,
at
then?
least-
Then their survey response should be no response, and that should be included. So we should have a no response as
Yep.
included. So if there's 100 students, 3 of those, what are they, 3 grades, 4 grades?
3
grades.
3 grades, you got 150 students-ish, and we only get 100 responses, we should have 50 no responses. And then
Maybe the follow-up push is really on the 7th grade.
Oh, and the team.
Yeah.
To try to really hard to get all the 7th graders,
Yeah,
and then if the others don't, then they don't, but.
But I'd like to score them as a non-response.
Yeah,
Right, just,
and you may call them and they say, hey, I
yeah.
don't wanna give you any of this
Yeah,
information,
yeah.
that's their right.
Fine.
that's a non-response, that's fine.
Right, so.
And after another one call and they don't respond, then we just mark them off as a non-response.
But at least we can show the data to say,
Mhm.
okay, we asked 150 questionnaires, we got 60 responses, and we got 90, or whatever, 90 non-responses,
Are they
whatever it is,
having parent conferences?
already done.
Or-
Done that.
Yeah.
Can I ask a couple questions? The order of high schools, did you put it in that order for a reason?
No.
We could do it in alphabetical,
Yeah.
yeah.
Same with, your reason for choosing the school, alphabetical,
Sure.
just so that there's no
Mhm.
swaying of, that's it, I forget, I don't want to answer that question anymore, And then I noticed on the third survey, there was a question about whether you're going to pay the tuition difference.
Yeah, I think we're getting.
Oh, you
rid of
have that, I'm sorry, I haven't,
Yeah.
that, I didn't have that.
And the other thing is, I was wondering is, do we care about the information about, do you have children in younger grades? Do we say that?
The more I think about it, the more I don't care.
Yeah, okay. Or where their older children went to? I mean, the
when I
only
was like,
interesting thing about that is that a lot of times when families have an older child that goes to one school, they know that school, and then that's the one they pick. I mean, that's.
But
then
does
we
it
could just
do
pick it. I
anything
don't-
for us?
Yeah, I don't think it really adds.
Well, the younger
anything.
children question was only if, once we get to the point of talking to the schools, is finding out, will we need to make sure that there's a, what do you call it,
Sibling.
grandfathering in the
Oh,
siblings,
yeah.
like if we don't wind up having a contract in the future with a certain school.
Yeah, I mean,
Or would that, do you think, like, take that question out and
I
not
think
just
we
make
take
it a
it out.
general
We would take
question
it
for the
out.
schools anyway?
yeah, right.
Okay.
I will, so on Nate's version and my version,
Which one's which?
Yeah, which one's Nate's?
Nate has please note at the
Okay.
top without the box.
Nate's is, yes, okay.
So Nate's sort of background information about busing is different. So if we want to provide background about busing, so mine is that there's been a shortage of bus drivers for the past few years, which may limit our ability to provide busing to Northern High School. How would busing, how important is busing in selecting a school? So I have mine as not important, somewhat important, very important, but open to feedback.
Is it better just to say, is busing required in your street? And then you're seeing,
Is busing a determining factor in which school you choose
yeah,
to take, something like that?
yeah, maybe, but I'm just thinking like, if you're looking for, you wanna take some of the gray out, right? So,
But I think Kendra's, what she has takes out a lot of the gray, because it says not important. I do not plan to send my child on the bus. Second, somewhat important. If there is not a bus to my first choice school, I may select another option. And then very important, I will not select a school that does not have busing. I mean, that's pretty, that gives us a lot of information.
I mean, so what I fear, right, is that people will select Pembroke or Dover,
Right. and then
because
find out there's no bus.
theoretically, they would love to go there.
Right.
But then they find out that there's only one bus driver, whatever, there's only busing to one school.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, there's this huge shift, and everyone, and, so all of our,
So why don't we just do the ranking again, questioned as, if busing is not an option, what is your rank?
but how do we ask that question if we don't know where busing would go?
so maybe.
Well, I think just saying like if,
Maybe you phrase it this way, in a school choice model, the board cannot guarantee the availability of transportation. If transportation is not available.
Right,
yeah.
Please
Yeah.
rank your schools.
So adding to the top. thing, which
But how
is-
do we rank them if we don't know where buses would be going?
We may not have buses.
But like, what if everyone says, busing is very important to me, I'll go to Co-Brown,
right,
and we don't have busing to Co-Brown?
Right.
You barely have busing to Concord.
Right, that's what I'm saying, so I don't know the.
Right, you don't have
know
an informed answer.
so what if, instead of even saying that, just in the basic question of what high school are you looking at, in that question, we put in there in parentheses, please keep in mind, busing may not be an option to any of these schools.
I think you're trying to gather which schools people are interested in, and the more muddy it gets.
Maybe ignore the busing question
Confusing
first,
for right
maybe narrow it
now.
down.
Well, what if we put the busing question in, but we say, if they allow us to contact them, we contact them. And if they say, if there's not a bus in my first choice school, I may select another option, and we try to contact those people. Well, what would your second option be? Is that a possibility?
I wouldn't want to be making extra work for the people who are doing this. If we can avoid making extra calls, I think that our guidance counselor will appreciate that.
Well, what if we just put it an open-ended question after it? Second, if busing is a problem, what would be your second choice school? They write in your second choice school.
I don't know if that's helpful, because I don't know that we'll have busing.
I
for second
understand
choice
that, but
school.
at least give us an idea, right?
I think it's a very hard question to ask, because
I'm gonna throw out there right out of the gate, we are not gonna find a magic school bus if we get kids to 5 different high schools.
I know,
Oh, it's not.
I know.
And we don't know which school would have the bus, is what you're saying. So
Right,
how do you
right.
answer that question
Right, we
if you
don't
don't
know
know
that,
one of
right.
your choices is the school that's gonna have
So
a
you
bus?
could rank them, but then it
Or-
could be completely
Or you
irrelevant.
just say, we're only gonna provide busing to Concord, or it appears at this point we will only be able to provide busing to Concord,
Or to one school.
to one school.
Or which school is that?
Right,
Right.
that's a good question.
So keep coming back.
Well, here's the thing, so if you
Well,
have to
yeah.
look at, if you have to look at what school you provide it to, you already have students that you're providing services to in Concord.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna
So-
take that away.
Right, so you're not gonna take that away, so realistically, you're probably looking at, if you're gonna provide a bus,
It's, right.
it's gonna be a Concord, at
That's
least
true.
in the short term.
I think realistically, and I'm speaking potentially out of turn, but I don't think there's a situation where the board is not considering Concord as one of our schools.
Right.
So do you say if transportation is only
Only.
provided to Concord, does that affect your rankings?
Or you can say in the background, please keep in mind that busing may not be available, and would this, and it may determine their decision.
I'm thinking you, black and white. If busing is only provided to Concord, does that affect your rankings? Yes or no?
We're just saying that in the first question. What's your top two schools, knowing that busing is will only be provided to Concord? So it cuts out a whole other question again. Just
Yeah.
put that into the main question.
I'm fine with that,
That's better.
but we're not gonna
Keep it
find
less
5 more
confusing.
buses to route all over God's green earth.
Right, I mean, I think we
If we find additional
traditionally
buses,
have
we need to be
budgeted,
here.
right, we have budgeted for them, but yes, we need DCS buses.
If 2 more buses show
Yeah,
up,
got it.
we need to run them here.
Okay.
So we put this in. Let's talk about
And then, I mean, I think,
Then you can
We'll have
cross.
to
you can kill
clarify-
Question 6 then, right?
yes.
Yeah, we'll get rid of 6. And I think we need to get rid of 7 because we can contact any of our families.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we were thinking about
Yeah,
that
if it's
as
the
us doing it as
pool,
a
if it's the
survey.
pool.
So
Yeah,
you
yeah,
kill it and hold
yeah.
the back page.
Okay, so we get rid of that all. So that really just then brings it down to 1, 2, about 5, 6 questions.
Yeah, and
There's really
shorter is
three-
better.
3 of them are pretty simple.
Yeah. Yes.
Who are you, how old are you?
Your name of your student and their grade
It's
level.
really 3 questions.
Okay. And Kendra, I was just curious, what were you thinking about the reasons for choosing the school when you did select only 3? Did you just want to know the 3 top reasons for them picking the school?
Yeah. I just don't want someone to do all of them. And did we get rid of that question? Or are we still doing it?
No, we're still doing it.
Okay.
I think we want to know that. Yeah. That's good information for us to have.
I would, if we are gonna keep that question, then I would adjust some of the options and either reduce the options to just an open-ended, why are you making this decision? But, for instance, diversity isn't on this list anywhere, and that's going to be a driving factor for a number of.
So we can add it.
I'm just throwing it out there. We
Yeah,
can talk
I like
about- Or athletic programs.
I
or
think
there's
the reason
plenty
why
of
we
things.
wanted to have it instead of an open-ended question is it's really easy to look at the data. If you make it an
You can
open-ended
chart it.
question, it's a lot harder,
You
right?
can
Yeah,
chart
but if
that.
you, yeah, exactly. You can
Graph that
say
or whatever.
30% of people chose this, 40%
But
chose that.
so, to that extent, diversity, I think, to
I
Nate's
think
point,
that's
is
a great, I
something
think
that
that's
should
a
be
great one
added.
to add, absolutely.
I
Are there others?
Yeah,
Athletics.
athletic programs,
Oh, yeah.
or athletic and extracurriculars in general.
The reputation of school.
Academic excellence of the school.
That sounds.
Yeah, we already have that.
Yeah, but you said reputation.
Yeah, and the one that's on these, it says reputation of school.
Oh,
Your cost.
Oh, do you want reputation of school as an
or academic
additional one or
excellence
just
is
academic
kind of the
excellence?
same.
And do you want to throw a financial question? Or do you want to leave that out?
You should.
Okay, so we're adding diversity, athletics, and extracurricular. Yeah, or maybe I do athletics, extracurriculars
Yeah,
together.
slash.
All right, so we're just adding 2.
Any other thoughts about that? Does anyone want to add anything to the background information?
Just that.
If we-
just
if we
the
wanna
link-
include-
I think we need the link to the comparison schools that we've
Yes.
done.
I,
You down, how come?
I'd be happy to look at that. If you want to switch over that, do we have it in front of
Yeah,
us?
well, it's unfortunately,
Is it in the drive?
it's in the drive, yeah.
So there are a number of
It's
things.
not
as I
in
was-
the, for the meeting today. It's in a separate folder.
So I didn't see it.
I get, yeah.
Do you have it up, Nate?
I can pull it.
I have it right here on my.
Just gonna, I'll just look over Nate's shoulder.
There are a number of things that I thought, it's obviously, I'm not arguing the validity of these numbers because I think they all came from with a state website or
Well,
whatever.
we have the sources, so we made sure we put the sources on everywhere where the numbers came from. Or we said it was from the school website, it was their information, or in some cases, I was calling them to get the information.
But to boil a lot of the nuance of a school down to a number like this, I think can just be misleading when you just turn it into a number. So for instance, things that jumped out at me were like, the graduation rate of Co-Brown was like 99%. And I'm not sure whether that includes and takes into account the number of students that are expelled over their 4 years. Like, do you not count them as not graduating because they were expelled by the school? Like, they're a private school or a private academy, so that they just treat that, they have different rules than a public school does. And so I think that number is misleading because, and then by releasing that or reporting that to the community, we're implying, I think,
Well, we can get rid of anything that you think is appropriate information that's misleading.
okay, so then I would also move from there on to, like, let's say the career program. There was one that I looked at that was comparing the CRTC program of the auto tech 1 and 2, and that's in the same row as basic automotive as offered by Co-Brown.
Oh, they were not, no, the roles were not to be in comparison. It
No,
was
but-
just literally a list.
What I'm saying is that what we're talking about right now is all of the nuance that's in this. And so to report this out as being in the same row, or maybe we can, like what we're talking about right now would require paragraphs of describing to the families that, no, these two programs are not comparable. A semester of basic automotive at Co-Brown
Right.
is nothing
Auto Tech 1 and 2,
like 1 and 2. And so,
let alone everything else.
so we can set up this whole narrative about all of the gray and all the nuance that's in here, but that's creating a very cumbersome document that, number one, how many of our parents are going to take the half hour it takes to digest all this information versus just doing a 5-question questionnaire? I think not many. How many would take a minute to look at it and then, maybe they would stick with it for the half hour to look at all the information. I'm just skeptical that by reporting all of this, I don't think that many parents are going to spend the time that it takes to really understand it. And so then our data that we get back becomes more questionable because we don't know what it's based on. Whereas if we don't report this or don't provide this to them, we know that what their choice is based on is what they think they understand. Like there's no way that every parent is going to fully understand this, the grayness of this situation. And so I think to be able to just give them a questionnaire and say, what do you think? What's it based on?
There's
We
also
will be able to make a harder assumption based on the results.
Those parents already know what they want.
They know what they want. And what is it based on? I don't know. And I'm sure we
I
can.
don't know if all those parents know what they want. I'm sure I agree with that. Like a 5th grade parent,
I
that's the
think-
oldest child in school, I don't think.
I think if you ask any 5th grade parent, they're gonna say, I want to make it to go.
So
They may not have a reason behind it. They may go, well, I want my kid to go to Co-Brown because it's a small school. Or they may say, I want my kid to go to Concord because it has great athletics.
Or because my neighbor went there and had a great experience.
Right, or they may say, I want to go to Pinkerton because I work in dairy.
Yeah.
No, because I work in dairy, right?
And I get that there might be a minority of people who are gonna really look at the differences. At the same time, though, I feel like it is I don't know, I just feel like it's a duty for us as a board to give as much information as we can to the public, for them to digest.
We've given this to them,
And it's all on the state website. They can digest it. They
and
can
we've
go
given
find
it all to them.
It's not on the state website.
It's not, this took
This is not on the
hours.
state
This took
website, let me
hours.
tell you.
The-
No way, just to pull together.
Well, no, you aggregated it, but it was all there.
It was all in different
You had to-
websites,
you had
all
to
different
do something.
websites, yeah.
The previous high school committee put a huge spreadsheet together. I mean, we're just looking at mileage averages from DCS. Yes, that's the average mileage from DCS. But this town is 60
No, we
square.
know, we
Right, we did
simplified
know.
that because,
Right.
that was too much.
But the subcommittee did that. They had points picked all over
Yeah.
town before, and
We
they
saw
were, and it just basically depends on what corner of town you live on, is what 5 high schools are gonna be the closest to you. So
They
if
did-
distance is your driving factor, you cannot get a consensus in this town, because if you live on one corner versus the other corner, you're looking a whole different, you may as well live 5 towns away.
Yeah, I mean, I am sympathetic to Nate's point of like, anything that the board is putting out is communication to the community. And how we do it, alphabetical order, if we're ranking things in certain ways, even the way that we're listing them, we're communicating something. And I don't know that we can do it while being completely objective. And that would be a concern that I have.
What are we not being objective about? I mean, this spreadsheet is not completely cleaned up. It's not done. Like Danielle and I still need to get together to fix stuff. So there are things I think that aren't labeled properly that we're not really, I was looking at it today and I had questions for you.
Yeah.
But I don't really see why this information is something not to give the public.
I mean, I think it's fine to give it, but I think if we are saying you will have the same automotive experience.
No, I agree with that,
whatever.
and if that's something we need to change, we change it.
Or
you
like-
say that this school does not have CRT, I'm not into the acronym.
CRTC.
But, I mean, that's fine, we clean it up. We clean up those things that are, but there's some that are just, I mean, they're just pretty straightforward.
I think the amount of information and to convey it accurately, to your point, as it should come from the board, I think would require evenings of representatives from the schools coming to give a presentation about, which Concord has done. I mean, the presentations that we've seen about the CRTC, and it's nothing like other programs that, so I don't know, it requires, there's a lot of information in here, and to try to summarize it into this and then base a decision on what we get for responses from 150 families on whether or not they understood the information that was in here thoroughly, I think just creates too much gray for us to then draw conclusions from.
And not that I doubt the accuracy or validity of any of the data, but like, I can imagine a situation where someone disagrees with one of our numbers, or if, we looked at the wrong year or something.
That's why the sources were put in here with the years.
Yeah.
But, so, I mean, I think we talked before about if we're offering choice next year, we should have the schools come in and do presentations, the different schools.
Yeah, I mean, and then
But that's something that we
the
can't
students
do
will be
before.
going on tours, I assume, and but that's something that they will get guidance about. It's not like, I think that's more of a guidance and middle school thing, right? Is
And
guiding them
process. It's
in
not-
process,
it's not
right? Is
just
guiding them
looking at a
into like, hey, this might be a great fit for you because of this. And it's less of a board. I don't know how to say it. It's not like we need to tell people where to go, right? That's a local decision. We are tasked with providing educational opportunities, right? If we are looking at it and we think all of these numbers look satisfactory to us, I think that's like what we are obligated to do.
I mean, we have to provide a placement. I've harped on this enough, but we have to make sure we provide that placement to every single one of the kids. Without some level of contracts, how do we provide those placements? I mean, it's ultimately that's it. But, so we at some point need to define what choice may look like, right?
Yeah, I mean,
Because right now, next year, it's $19.99. This is Deerfield before contract. You can say, oh, it's different, it's a buyer's market, schools are losing students and everything else. Without a contract, no school has an obligation to take all of our kids. The schools aren't gonna take all of our kids. We run the risk of having a certain percentage of our students not placed. We have a legal obligation to place our students. That's the mess we're in right now. And so this is great, and it's good information, but at the end of the day, the most important thing, I don't care about money, I don't care about anything else, we have to make sure every single student has a place to go to high school. We all know that. So we need to define what does this, the town uses this term choice. I don't know if it's fully choice, if it's an option or two, or what, but we need to come up with what that looks like, and we need to start settling down that path. Sorry, I don't mean to rant, but we just,
no, I mean,
And that was something.
I've
we
ridden this
discussed.
horse around so long that it's like,
Right. But I think, that's something we had talked about during the last meeting too, is that, we're not looking at open choice right now. We're trying to consider, a few schools.
okay.
yeah, I mean, I think I just keep returning to like, what are we trying to get from this? Like, yes, we're asking people to pick and rank, but like, I feel like so much of the spreadsheet is stuff for like the committee in terms of like what school we are including and giving as an option. Less of like the nitty gritty of when people want to pick their school and for what, based on what.
It's certainly important to get information out to the community and to hear their voice but at some point, a lot of people will just say, we voted for you, we elected the school board to make these decisions, like, we're the ones how to do the job. And we can try to collect as much information as we can, but I feel like this is gonna muddy it too much. In the end, we're the ones that need to decide, and we may not be deciding exactly based on, the graduation rate at Co-Brown. And certainly getting this information out, getting it out, I think is important, but it is out and
it's been out.
And it's been out. And I think at this point, really just getting a sense of what the community wants based on this questionnaire is enough for us to then make up, we
The
need
next
to,
decision.
we need to make the next
Semi-educated
decision.
decision.
Well, so if the primary concern is the next wave of students going through, then focus on that, get their voice, and then start making decisions. But like, everything that's on the survey, we've had meetings and presentations, and we talked about, we beat it to death. But at the end of the day, people in this community are gonna dig their heels in and go, I want this, I want this, I want this, me. And I don't mean to sound skeptical, but they're thinking about themselves and not the community as a whole. And they put up on Facebook, and I don't care. But we still have the obligation for us, there's 5 people sitting here, our sole obligation is to guarantee that every student has a place to go to school. And we need to figure out how to do that and make sure it's guaranteed, because right now it's not.
All right, so
That's the
I'm
mess.
gonna say that we need to go forward with this enrollment questionnaire. We need to not talk about this anymore. It's obviously 3-2. So we'll just put this aside, but maybe this is something in the future that can go on our website that people can look at.
I think,
And I do think that when we get to the point, if we do know what schools are and we are, like, say, maybe choosing 3 schools, we definitely need to have presentations by those schools come in
yes,
to people.
no doubt.
Yep. I don't think it needs to be a school board presentation. I think it should be a presentation for a family night for parents and the community to come to.
No disagreeing there.
So push the questionnaire or questionnaire. Whatever.
Yeah, so the questionnaire I'll work on putting that all together. I was gonna put it in a Google form, is that what you did?
Yeah,
Okay.
I have one more suggestion up in the background. The contract is expiring, I think you should tell
Oh.
this, instead of this year.
Yeah.
June of, or June 30th, or whatever. the-
June 30th, 2024.
Can I also add a suggestion?
Please.
For number 5, reasons, put a special education option with 22% of our population in special ed. If you look at the numbers
Yeah.
of what Co-Brown offers compared to Concord, it's enlightening.
What was on the?
That is on our thing, but it wasn't on the old one. Special education opportunities. He deserves a cupcake.
Or 2.
Okay. Anything else for high school planning?
No.
I think for the next meeting, we will do a work session again. Actually, for the survey, what are we asking people to complete it by, or like, what are we looking at?
Yeah, we originally, we have pretty, it's gonna be different if the school is the one, but we were originally trying to get it out like the end of this week.
This Friday.
Right, this Friday, which it'll be done by then, but we were gonna try and give them 2 weeks to complete it. Now, I don't know how that's gonna work for you guys, like, can we do a 2 weeks date and then the people that don't call the teachers, all the parents, would that work? 7th grade team, or however you wanna do it?
You want our teachers to help?
Well, I don't know.
So it should be guidance.
Or guidance, okay, so guidance.
We'll let them know.
Well, we'll give, we were thinking a 2-week date, just because, if people don't do it within 2 weeks, they don't do it.
If we miss the 17th, then it's 3 weeks till our next meeting.
Right. That was my other.
That's gonna be a big
Because of
time to be,
Memorial Day.
and the clock is ticking,
Right.
Yes.
so
So you wanna do date sooner than the 19th?
I would say we need at least preliminary
early results on the 17th.
early results before our next meeting.
So why don't you do it Friday? Sorry,
So if it goes out this Friday,
oh.
and you have.
That's 1 week.
You have a week.
I think if you, the
Right,
more or
don't
less
do it.
time you actually give someone is better.
It's
Right.
usually better, yeah.
You know, you say 2 weeks, you forget about it.
So what's the best way I can get that to you, just
Well, you can email me the form, I can put the link, just make sure, are you proficient in Google Forms? Or okay, because a lot of times you'll send something out and people are like, I can't access this.
yeah, no, I have to change it, so if you have the
Right.
link, you can access it, I will
Right.
change that to share.
And I'll probably do a no reply. Do you think I should do that, Patty, and no, because otherwise I'm
Yeah.
gonna be
Yes.
handling
Yeah.
all of
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
questions, or all of the
Yes.
comments.
Well, the responses shouldn't be going back
It
to
should
a
be
board
going
member. They
into
should
the
be
form,
going.
so
Right.
not the owner should be coming.
When you send the email from like Alma or One Call Now, it's from Mrs. Witty.
No,
It should be
but-
the no reply and you go
Because
with
it's
survey
not a
answer.
board survey or a board questionnaire, so the responses shouldn't be going back to a board member. The
No, they're not.
responses
They'll
should
live
be-
with-
well,
Well, I guess I'll go with
It's-
her then, if I
we're-
give it to you, then that means you'll become the editor, so I'll just change it and you'll be the editor.
No, I can't you just send me the form, and I'll just copy the link.
Yeah, she'll have to sort of redo it. You won't have access to it.
Well, then how's she gonna get the data if I just send it to her?
I don't want, okay.
I'm talking about when you get a form and then you go into the data, so,
So if you
the
send
form, you
me-
got the things and it gives you what the results are. You go into that and you look at it.
So you can add me as a collaborator.
Right.
I'll copy the link.
Yeah.
And send out the link, and how I would do it, but I would send it in a One Call Now. There was a no reply to me, One Call Now. So if somebody if I send out a One Call Now right now, like there's no school tomorrow, people can reply to me and say, that was a stupid decision. That's.
Contact the superintendent.
Any problem. But if I send it out as a no reply, then they cannot reply to me.
Okay.
I do not have to answer.
It's just the
back.
email, it's not the survey.
Yeah, it's not the survey, it's not, and then we'll start populating in your spreadsheet.
That's what
I
I'm saying, it's
do-
gonna populate in the spreadsheet if I'm the owner, so is that a problem?
No.
To get the data, I don't think so, right? Because it's the school putting.
Yeah, it's not, you can,
Question.
yeah.
I
you can get the
do
data.
wonder if we should put, so that you don't get bombarded with questions. I do wonder if we should put, if you would like to discuss this or have concerns, please send an email to the school board.
Should go to guidance. It's not the school board survey.
Yeah, and if we're putting special ed as an option and now
Yeah,
all the
true.
names are coming back and they're chosen as the reason to be special ed,
You almost need to give
we shouldn't be seeing that.
like a paper copy of the survey to guidance and say, can you please hit the classes, but it's not our survey.
I understand that, I'm worried about who's going to be manipulating the data, if that's the case. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, and that's the challenge.
Right. Because it's easy to manipulate, to go in there and it'll give you percentages right away, it'll give you all, you put it all.
Right.
But if I can't look at it, somebody else has to do that.
Can we take up a special ed question?
Why don't you
We'll take
just
it,
have it go to add me, add Kristen, and we'll figure it out. Okay, once they commit. We'll talk about Friday, we'll come up with a plan.
Dr. Nate's point, we want to take out special ed or?
Well, we're not
If
gonna,
we're not getting.
we're not reporting out any data by names.
No,
It's for
just
us.
if it's a choice that they
Right,
pick,
and
that's
it's
all.
us to know who submitted a response.
Yes. So we won't be getting any names
Right.
associated.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Patty. Okay. So hopefully by our next meeting, we will have a few answers or ideas.
I'll do that tonight, because I've got a little granddaughter that's gonna be with me all day tomorrow, so it won't happen tomorrow yet.
So what are you doing tonight, sending me?
I'll send it to you tonight.
Okay, and do you want me to drop an email, or do you want to just put a little email, should I put in if you have questions, contact the board? No, the school site.
Work with
Yeah,
that.
that's- I'll just send it to you and you guys can.
I
talk
do
about it.
think,
Email.
I do think we could include that if people have concerns or questions about high school options, they can email me or the board. right? Because we are still dealing with issues.
But are you doing that right now, or are you just trying to find out what their choices
Right,
are?
yeah, you're right.
Like if you go further with
Yeah,
this,
that's
it's
true.
gonna
Yeah,
be.
That's true. I mean, I think people know that they can email us.
There's no questions at this point.
I would say that's fair. Yeah, it's just, please, it's really important to do this and we want the results in a week, you know?
Yes.
So you want them by the 12th?
Yeah.
There'll be plenty of time for discussion, but I think right now you're just trying to get an answer.
And if for some reason it doesn't go out until the 8th, we can bump it to the 15th or something.
Okay.
Okay, anything else on high school planning for tonight?
No.
Okay,
Oh, we're just getting started.
yeah, right, no, we're
You have
only,
no idea.
we're not even halfway through. Board reports, PTO, would you like to give an update?
So we have a couple things coming up. In a week and a half, I think, we have our plant sale, the 13th, which is the Saturday before Mother's Day, so don't forget to stop by and buy some plants. We have another meeting on Tuesday, May 16th. We're definitely looking for some more people to join us, so if anyone's interested, that's the one to come to. We gave the kids for spring break a scavenger hunt, so I hope they've been working on that, and I hope to see lots of responses by Friday. The class that turns in the most is going to get a prize from us. Luckily, I put puddles as one of the things that they had to find because there was so much silly rain. Like that's probably all they found, puddles and worms. We also gave them a small gift on Earth Day. We gave a little packet of seeds, so hopefully everyone has some fun planting some seeds. There's a lot of wildflowers, so maybe we'll have some nice pollinator bees and butterflies. This week, of course, we're doing teacher and staff appreciation. So we've been really, really busy so far this week. Monday, we did our traditional coffee cart. We got to deliver coffee and treats to all the teachers and staff in their classrooms with the help of some very generous parents who sent in those treats for us. And Beard and Brow Coffee donated the coffee for us this year, and it was delicious. Tuesday, we did a little farmer's market, which was a lot of fun. We had some maple candy from the Dill family farm. We had some carrots. I have carrots coming out my ears now. We might have overdid it on the carrots, but that's okay. There were some honey straws and some goat's milk soap, and it was really a lot of fun. I heard that the teachers really liked it, so hopefully that was
Cucumbers, the little cucumbers, those were a hit.
The cucumbers are like this big. They're called cukes, like with a Q. They're adorable and they taste good too.
The teachers love them.
And then today we did a spread of desserts for them to have their meeting after school today. And we got some more stuff from local places, keeping with our theme of farmers market. So I picked up some honey, I said it, the name of the place, the tea came from Sun Fox Farm and Sweet River Farm is where I found it all, and the Ward Family Homestead made the sourdough bread. So we've been trying to like support a lot of the local businesses. So it's been really a lot of fun and it's actually really, really amazing.
Yeah.
It's totally delicious. And we have 2 more treats in store, a little token of our appreciation tomorrow, and then of course our Friday lunch from Charlie's Pizza.
Another local.
Yep.
Excellent.
The teachers have loved it.
I hope so.
I should say they'll stop.
Awesome.
Thank you. Thanks. Exec board, we are meeting next Wednesday, but we had a full board meeting. Do we report that?
April 12th, yeah.
Yes, April 12th, we had a full board meeting. There were several of us there, so feel free to chime in.
It was quick.
It was quick. We talked about putting out the bus bids.
RFP.
Did those go
Yes. Needed staff for next year.
Yes.
Wasn't a whole lot.
There wasn't, yeah, it wasn't very, yeah. We appointed a chair, just a chair from Epsom.
Yeah.
Remember from Epsom?
It was more of a hijack.
Yeah.
It's alphabetical.
It's an alphabetical, so, yeah, I think that is all. We will, the exec board is meeting next Wednesday, so we'll have more the next time. Principal's report.
All right, this is for April 6th to May 3rd. today. On Thursday, April 6th, we had our parent-teacher conferences. As you know, we're still offering them in person or virtual. And a lot of families take up on the virtuals. They can take it during their lunch break in their car. We've had, for the past couple of years in offering the virtual, we've had an increase in the number of parents who are able to attend. On Friday, April 7th, we had our monthly all-school meeting. Our third graders hosted and did a marvelous job. Minus Mrs. Witty's technology debacles, but it's fine. It was fine. It was fine. Tuesday, April 11th, we did a bus evacuation practice. We do that twice a year. It's seamless at this point. The kids know what they're doing. Also on Tuesday, demonstrated success continues to come out. We extended our scope of work with them through the end of May. And they are continuing to work with our multi-tiered system of support for Tier 1 and Tier 2 team, as well as supporting our teams on professional learning communities. So they are continuing to come out to help us do that work. Wednesday, April 12th, we had our PD Wednesday. This was 2 more hours that we made up for our snow day that we had in the March Professional Development Day. Thursday, the 13th, again, demonstrated success came out, worked with professional learning communities. Our critical friends groups continue to meet. On Tuesday, the 18th, demonstrated success came out again to work with our Tier 2 and 3 team as we're continuing to work on our action plan. We have started our interview process, so we are in the thick of looking for a reading specialist, instructional coach for grades 4 through 8, technology support specialist. We actually will be interviewing for world language, and we also got an applicant for world culture, so we'll be looking at both of those applicants. We have an art interview coming up, and then we will round it out with our kindergarten interviews for a kindergarten position. On Wednesday.
Sorry.
Oh, that's okay.
What happened? You said professional development day for 2 hours, 4:13 demonstrated success, 4:18 demonstrated success.
Yeah, she's way behind.
No, I'm making sure I have it entered on me. Then you said interviewing for reading specialist, instruction, and then something, and then world language.
Instructional coach. So it was a reading specialist / instructional coach.
And then what else?
For grades 4 through 8.
Yep.
Technology support specialist, world language and a world culture. So we have both, and then
That's fast. You're good.
That was you weren't as bad. It wasn't as I thought.
Okay, good. Nope, that's it. That's all I needed. Okay, we're good.
On Wednesday.
Keyboard smoking over there.
Literally, it's on fire. It's old too.
April 19th, besides the fact that we had to evacuate our building, we also had a visiting author that day, John Sonnenblick, and he took off mighty quick when he found out that we were having some sewage issues. So, but he did get through a lot of his presentations. The kids loved him. On April 20th, Thursday, April 20th, our 4th graders had their annual biography night. That was wonderful. Over April vacation, as you know, Chris and his crew, along with some summer high school employees, came back for April vacation. This is May Moni, who is a treasured paraprofessional in our building, worked that week. We cleaned and cleared underneath the stairwells on the stage. We moved the sound equipment to the back of the stage and in the closet area. We had a visiting helper, Mrs. Kim Black, came and helped that day, bless her heart. And I dragged Mr. Witty into the building, bless his heart. So he took apart a bunch of stuff and helped with the stage. And but you'll notice that there 2 out of the 4 stairwells have been completely cleared out. And Chris had his crew out in the shed, moving things out and getting rid of things. And so it's a work in progress, but it is work. We are working on it. And again, this week, the PTO is spoiling our entire staff with their wonderful Teacher Appreciation Week, Farmers Market theme. Nicole read all of the things that, I don't need to repeat that. Also this week, our skateboarding unit has begun. We haven't done that for a few years. And a big thank you to Focus that provided the funds. So the kids are having a blast with it. It's cracks me up. And we do get a lot of skateboarders out of this. A lot of kids have become interested in skateboarding. So that adventure has started. Also this week, we have Nature on Wheels
on our school campus. They have been working with our sixth graders in an environmental camp out in outdoor classrooms. The rain, it doesn't rain in the woods, just so you know. It does thunder in the woods, which brought them back in the building yesterday, but it's been a little soggy out there. I'm just saying, please, but they're troopers. They are troopers. Also, this week we had our annual art show. That was a huge success. Thank you to the PTO. That's another thing, you guys provided treats for the annual art show. Also this week is the Deerfield School Book Fair, which has already raised thousands of dollars. Thank you to the community for coming out to support that. It's open tomorrow night is the, I think the last evening it's open. But it's open all day as well. And also this week, lastly, on Thursday and Friday, we have Tricky Tray back in the building. We have not had Tricky Tray in our building for a couple of years either, so it'd be great to have that back in. We've got all kinds of Tricky Trays coming in. And today was our last day for Tech Truck, so we should have made it up last week when we had to evacuate the building. I don't have any PTSD from that, do I? But so we made up our last hour today. Finally did Tech Truck. Brooke thought for sure we would be flooded out because it's been raining, but it didn't. So, and the PTO provided delicious treats for us, and I made 80 cups of coffee, and it was gone, all 80 cups of coffee.
You're saying Tech Track?
Tech Trek, yeah, that's what we call it. TREK.
Okay, great.
Yeah, that's it. Thank you.
I'm gonna piggyback off that real quick.
Oh, yeah, sure.
To the board, it's my favorite time of the year when I ask you guys
Oh, yeah.
to prepare for being asked for money.
Wait a minute, I don't know about this.
Well,
Before that,
Take it away, Mr. Green.
can I just ask a quick question? Or a parent asked me about the virtual conferences that you're doing. If there's any chance you could consider extending the hours for them so that parents can try to get in after work as well. Because I think they run basically during the school day.
They do.
And so this particular parent mentioned that it was difficult to get a slot that worked for them during the school day. So if it started later and ended later or something along those, it was just a food for thought for that.
That's a good point.
I promised that parent I would say something.
Yep, and at this point, it's a contractual thing, but.
I also reminded that parent.
Yes. But it might be something that we could look into negotiating on that particular day, starting later, ending later, or building in an evening. I've worked at schools where it's like 6 to 8. Or 3 to 8 one night, and then 12 to 4 the next day or something like that. So
The parent I was speaking with mentioned her school does it from, I think, 12 to, maybe it's 12 to 8 or 10 to 8 or something like that. But they just
So we
kind of
start a
shift the
little
day.
later.
They shift the day so that they have, parents can access after work hours.
You can tell that parent I would be happy to consider that.
Okay. I can go home now.
To piggyback off our evacuation, we had a lot of damage to carpets. Unfortunately, a lot of gym mats were ruined. And speaking to Amber, we have $1,000 deductible, but we never took any photos. We have no proof of any because we were just so wrapped up in trying to clean.
Want to get rid of it?
Yeah, it was pretty nasty. So in the process of trying to do it too fast, we didn't take into consideration that. But in speaking to Amber, also the money would have to be drawn out and it would be reimbursed X amount of months anyway. So on the 17th, I won't be here. I'll be at science camp with 7th grade, but I'll have a list of monies that we will be looking for.
Can we briefly clarify, because Facebook was a mess with a bunch of misinformation? There was nothing wrong with the septic system.
No, not at all.
There was a giant toilet paper plug in the pipe leading out of the building, which has nothing to do with anything out there and has something to do with the fact that somebody stuffed too much toilet paper down the hole.
Yes, our kindergartners, they might be little, but they're mighty.
So to clarify for anybody watching.
Yes.
That all out there works perfectly.
It worked great.
We had, unfortunately, a giant toilet paper bugger plug the line.
Yes.
Okay.
And the septic group, they came out right away, like within.
Yeah.
It was fixed.
There was a lot of
It was
fist bumps
fixed with-
happening outside
Yes.
by coworkers of that company.
Yes. So you want to, I don't know if you finished, so you're not gonna be here the 17th.
Yeah,
so
yeah,
you'll-
so I'll just have a list for Miss Withy of how much we're looking to take out of surplus.
And there's nothing coming from insurance, is that what you're saying?
No, we have no proof, we have nothing.
They heaved before they photographed.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like we heaved like in the moment, you know?
It was rugs, it was a couple bookshelves, it was the gym mats.
It sounds like you're talking of, what, a couple $1,000?
Yeah,
So,
exactly. Yeah, we're not looking like tens of thousands of dollars.
was the, do you have, it's May, but do you have more this year that you'll ask for, or is that like what you're looking for?
I think that's really it.
And you just know
Yeah.
that's
Oh, yeah.
okay.
One more thing, also on the 17th, as Brian stated, he will be going to Miro Vista with our seventh grade. Our seventh grade are going for 2 nights overnight, to an environmental camp. And we had talked about doing the math presentation in the evening, for big ideas. In fact, today we had two trainers or consultants, I'm not sure exactly what their role was. Yeah, reps, came and actually met with our middle school math team, Nick and Rod and Jose. Samantha Corwin was there, as well as Jeannie and myself, just to dig a little deeper into what they're working on with the big ideas. So the 17th, Nick will not be here and Samantha will not be here. So we still have 2 math middle school math teachers that can be here. I am happy to present on their behalf. But if we're looking at potential purchase of materials and that type of thing.
My preference, and I talked to Kristen a little bit earlier, is if you're okay with her relaying the information, because once we start getting towards June 30th, we have issues with closing books. And I would prefer for her to present the information to you in 2 weeks and then make decisions.
Would that be allow suspension surplus this year?
Yeah, like whatever she comes back with from all of this work they're doing and they say, oh my gosh, we love it. Can we get workbooks? Oh my gosh, it's not that great. We're just gonna, whatever it is, I'd rather know sooner rather than later. Because we're getting into the end of the year.
Right,
Is that
because
okay with
as you stated, the next board meeting is until June 7th, so. So is the board okay if I come with information and I'll have, I think Jamie will come, and likely the 2 other middle school math teachers will come as well. But we'll be missing 2 important parts of the team, so.
That's going to be after our parking lot discussion. We're gonna have a lot of guests that night, sounds like.
It will be a guest-filled night.
I bet you the staff will be okay letting us talk about the parking lot getting busy. They'll probably give us a little bit of leeway.
Why don't you, they could do a video that you could show the board.
Could do that.
Presentation. Or just give you enough information that you feel confident presenting it to the board, one or the other. And I hate to have them sitting around for all that time. We can talk, let's brainstorm Friday.
Okay. Great. So curriculum review board.
I haven't been to a meeting yet, the first meeting is going to be May 22nd.
Great. Has there been an MBC? No.
No, not yet.
No MBC meeting yet.
The only thing coming up would be just a organizational meeting, and
Yeah.
then you'll sit idle until
Yeah.
fall.
Okay, so we have a lot of policies.
They're all first reading, so no action required.
Wellness is third and social media.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Yep. I have that one. So I have, I believe the response from wellness was that it looked okay, but I want to look one more time with Mrs. William, the admin team on Friday, just to make sure we're good with that one. And then, what was the other one that was third? Social media, yeah, we had just really put that on there because you were talking about your Facebook page and whether or not you thought there was anything that needed to be updated to allow you to make any changes in what you're doing on Facebook. I don't think so. I've looked at it a couple of times and I think it, I don't think you need to change anything.
Yeah, and
So you can reaffirm that one tonight if you want to.
yeah, I think the policy generally spoke more to district social media, and I guess that would include the board, but
Use of social media.
yeah. We had to see that there was anything else we needed to add. I don't know if you guys had the opportunity to. So, for our board members who haven't reviewed policies yet. There's usually a first reading. Everyone can comment, add suggestions. The typical language that we have is the draft language from the New Hampshire School Board Association, but we really can add, change, delete. So we feel free to input ideas.
Yeah, if there are substantive changes in a policy that deals with a statute or new legislation, then it needs to go back to legal for input. So the School Board Association generally is, has everything that we need to meet the requirements of the law. So you can, exactly what you said, make some changes and tweaks specific to Deerfield, but we do need to make sure we have the requirements.
And there's
from each
different
legislative session.
Yes, and the New Hampshire School Board Association categorizes things as required or recommended. So if it's required, there's a statute saying we need to have a policy on this. If it's recommended, it's something that they have determined it would be useful to schools to have.
So if by the next meeting, if you have changes, if you could get those to me, I put them in the drive and I put, Ellen's edits so that people know where it came from. If at all possible, you can do a red line version. That makes it easier to see what changes you're suggesting. And then we can talk about it at the next meeting and hopefully be ready by the third reading to vote.
And when you look at the draft policies, I was a little confused about this the first time. There's like a bunch of highlighted stuff, and there's like a lot of language that's not actually the policy. It's like, just tells you there's some background, or there's like, these are, like, I think the wellness one had pages of stuff that's not actually the policy, but like is advisory, like things to consider when you're making a policy. If you don't want to use this policy, these are the questions you do need to ask, etc.
Some of these where the policy database is still down for School Board Association, you probably saw that. So I sorted your policies by date, and there's some ancient policies that have just sat there, and sometimes they're not even in the policy manual anymore, and they're just gonna be deleted. So I'm trying to get those on here. That's why if you look at the approval dates, some of them are like 80s and early 90s. And if there's no School Board Association sample with that policy, it means they don't even have it anymore. It's probably just gonna be deleted.
Got it. So like the substitute professional one, I don't think there was.
Yeah, I mean, there weren't even collective bargaining agreements for paraprofessionals back in the day, and some of those policies, that stuff is dictated in the CBA, so you don't have policies anymore.
So if, we decide to get rid of a policy that we currently have, what is the process for that?
It would just be withdrawn, and then we have to keep record of it, so we keep it in our records forever.
Okay.
All policies have to be archived, but it does get withdrawn.
Okay. So should we start at the top, or what do you want to do?
We don't have to do anything tonight, other than just review and get changes to me before the next meeting for the second readings.
And what about the third readings? The
And then we
wellness?
take it. Those, I'm not ready.
Okay.
You can, if you want to reaffirm the social media, if everybody's had a chance to look at it and no one has suggestions, you can do that.
Do people want an additional meeting to look at that policy, or? Okay. Okay. We don't.
All right, I'll move into second reading on the others.
We're moving all the first to second for next meeting.
Yes.
Informational, all right, so I had a question on, actually, maybe we're coming back to this at some point with a language culture question about looking ahead to next year. I'm not sure if that's obviously not the agenda for this meeting. But when we do get into that conversation, maybe next meeting, at some point, could we get more of as part of your plan, I would be curious to hear more about, there were some students, I believe, who took a VLAX course in language this year. And so if there is a language program that's returning for next year, how do you picture and roll or wrapping those kids into that? If they will be, or if they wouldn't be, would they be then provided space for an alternate whatever, like a VLAX 2 or something like that? How many kids are we talking about? I don't need that information, but that kind of thing, I just wouldn't want that to be missed as we talk about language changes for next year, if possible.
Anyone? So for once, I got to make a popular decision. And it's completely self-serving because I don't want to miss the turning of the tassels at graduation. So I'm going to spring the 8th graders a day early. This year, they have plenty of instructional hours to do that because I really want graduation to be on June 14th. We have 4 graduations in this SAU on the 15th, and I hate missing that, and I can't miss the other one because I have a principal of 42 years retiring, and they have all these celebrations planned, so we can't reschedule that one. So as long as you're okay with doing that, we don't want to make the 8th graders come back the day after graduation. That would not go over well.
I don't think my daughter's gonna let that fly.
She's not gonna let that fly. So as long as the board's okay with that, that's our plan at this point. Let's change it the day early. Okay. Thank you for that. I don't want to miss it.
Okay, any more informational items? Okay, we are back to public comments.
Kimberly Black, Meeting House Hill. Just a couple quick things on the survey. You mentioned a diversity question. I just would like, I'm not part of the students, but clarity on whether that means people or classes, I think is really important. So if it's just a blanket, are you looking for the school for diversity? If you just provide clarity on that. Also, the survey doesn't sound like it would be sent out to any students that aren't within this realm of the school. So I suspect that there are 5th, 6th, and 7th graders that don't currently go to DCS, but are Deerfield residents and need to be considered. So while that sounds like it's a great first step, I do think you need to remember that there are students outside of these walls that need to be considered for high school.
Do you have suggestions, Kim, on how we would find them? I do want to consider them, but we don't have a way to track them.
I know,
once they
and
leave.
I was trying to think 100 ways, like if every person in town had an ID, like, I don't.
If you think of something.
I mean, we can certainly put on our Facebook page, I don't know how many people look at it, but we can certainly put like, if you are not currently at DCS and did not receive the survey, please email Patty.
Yeah, that's fine. No, that's fine.
It might be an option, a mailer, something maybe in Errol's paper. I think ultimately you're gonna have the same experience with surveys. People just don't fill them out, and you're just gonna have to respect that the number of people that do answer are your collective whole, just like the number of people that show up at these comments are really, a large voice. And you guys were all voted on your seats because people resonate with your stance on things, and you're also a collective voice. So I don't disregard the weight of your own opinions by any measure. But I do think you need to make sure that you are reaching out to those students that aren't within this scope. And if I sleep on something and next week come up with something, I'll send an email, I'll show up. But just those 2 considerations. And then I just kind of I sympathize with the struggles that you had with the stuff you brought forward with the contract and the expansion, and that those collectively as a giant whole didn't go through. But just because I pass on the fruit salad doesn't mean I don't want the strawberries. I didn't vote for the expansion as a whole, but like I want our floors fixed. I want to see an addition. I want to see small improvements. In my head, like I've already plotted out what I would like to see for an addition, because we do need at least 4 classrooms, but we really need more. Our nurses station needs to be expanded to include our preschool and our kindergartners that it wasn't built for. So like that specifically, like I think that's critical because that was not set up for preschool and kindergartners. And I have small children, like they're little sponges. They're just germs. And so we need more area. I mean, all kids are germs, but the smaller ones specifically, like, you don't know they're sick until they're really sick. And so like there's just because I didn't want the $45 million expansion doesn't mean I don't want to see those improvements. And I think the town's saying that every time we do vote for adding, money on renovation projects and these small things. So I know it's hard to let go of, but we really kind of gotta undig all of our heels and try to come up with a compromise. And I don't have the answers. I realize I come here with a lot more questions than answers, and I think part of that is just I don't want to regret not saying something in the end. So thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Stacey Marchioni, Meeting House Hill Road in Deerfield. So I just was sitting at home listening to this meeting, and I grabbed my daughter in her pajamas and had her throw on a coat and sneakers because what the 2 of you are saying is outrageous. Parents understand the gray behind the black and white. just because they didn't vote with you doesn't mean they're uninformed or stupid. So I would say that the two of you need to realign yourselves. The only respect that I'm hearing from this board are from the 3 new members that are on it. You guys are out of place and out of line in saying that people won't spend 30 minutes, parents won't spend 30 minutes to look at information. We won't understand the gray behind the black and white. How dare you? How dare you? Who do you think you are? Absolutely inappropriate and out of line. Alan is the only voice in here that I heard tonight that showed any kind of respect toward parents in this town. You are wrong and you owe parents an apology. It's inappropriate. Inappropriate. We're not too stupid and we're not too incapable of looking and digesting information. So I can't believe what I've heard tonight. Zach, you said, well, I guess we could let the town use the school, even though they don't usually vote with us. What is that? Are you serious right now? You're not going to let the town use the school to vote because they didn't vote with what you wanted?
Hold on.
That's what you
No,
said.
that's exactly.
Even though they don't
Stop.
vote with us. Don't tell me to stop. I have 3 minutes and you can say what you want when you're done. When I'm done.
Stacy?
No, I'm done. I'm not.
Stacey?
Go back and listen to it. You said they don't usually vote with us, but I guess we can let them use the school. That is exactly what you said.
That is not what I said.
It is what you said. You're disrespectful and you're condescending. And you don't belong on this school board. Thank you, Kendra, Danielle, and Ellen, for what you're bringing to the table. You two are an embarrassment.
May I respond?
Katie, you can say whatever you want, but I'm taking my daughter home and going to bed.
So Stacy.
I heard exactly what you said. I was at home listening.
I said, I think we should allow the town to use the school for voting, even though they haven't voted with us recently. My words exactly.
Yeah, insulting. Who the hell gives a shit if they vote with you or not? That has nothing to do with whether the town should use this school to
I said
vote.
the town should use it.
Even though they don't vote with me, you are, I can't even with the arrogance and the condescension. Just because we don't vote with you has nothing to do with whether the town should use the school to vote. It's exactly what you said.
My statement was the town should.
You're an embarrassment.
That type of language is not going to be tolerated per our policy, so this is a warning to those who want to swear and name call. That is not a proper use of public comments per the board policy. So you've been warned.
Can I include some of that in the minutes? Like,
I would generalize.
It doesn't need to be transferred.
Yes.
So the secretary is really allowed to do that kind of thing. But she brought up the issue of the voting, which I was a little puzzled, actually, by the tone of the letter. It started out by saying that they wanted to use the school for voting because of the snowstorm. So I think we delayed the voting because it was a peril to people to drive. So I don't know how much of an excuse that is for moving the voting to the. I mean, I would love to see things staying at town hall and like to see things continue to be done at the town hall. So I just wonder, a generator. You got a generator. What else? I don't think there's a parking issue at the town hall. Historically, people haven't had to wait in line to park. So I'm just curious what the real reasoning is for wanting to move here as opposed and do that. I know that's not a question you can answer, but it's maybe one you can find an answer to as you explore with the town what's really driving this. I fail to see a compelling argument that's been put forward.
Well, they will hopefully be coming on the 7th, so.
The 7th.
I would invite you to come June 7th. That's what the meeting we're gonna invite them to.
Oh, well, good luck.
Real quick. Okay, so I'm gonna follow up obviously with the HVAC. Could you confirm, Zach, if the contractor has provided a quote outside of the expansion project And is it safe to assume that with that quote, we were talking about doing flooring replacement, electrical updating, and everything like that?
So when we were looking at the expansion project, the renovation component of that, the estimates that were done would have been flooring, ceiling tiles, drop ceiling, and HVAC improvements.
Okay.
That was embedded into the expansion portion of that. If you look at the project, that say a third of the cost of the project, which was in the renovation side.
Okay. Can we confirm if there's been a quote for an update to this specific building?
For HVAC specifically?
Right, coming from our boiler system, has there been an update to like heating, ventilation, and air conditioning,
So,
completely switching over?
so as far as swapping the engine, no, we have not done the engineering to install, say, a rooftop area doors and a ducted system in this building.
Okay.
There is a tremendous cost in engineering to design the system. Just to kind of get to the point where you can provide quoting.
Yeah.
But that type of system would require removal of all the ceilings throughout the building, penetrations in the roof. I used to design HVAC systems a long time ago.
Yeah.
The basic premise hasn't changed. It's still ductwork and units. It would also require electrical upgrades to get electrical power up to the units. And then if you intend to use the units to provide heat, gas piping and or electrical provide, particularly when you use electricity. But there's a lot to it. It's not a summertime project. It would be probably a 6-month project just to get kind of it rocking. So it's a difficult, if not impossible project to pull off while still having to maintain a school.
Okay, and is there plans for the system to be updated though in the near future? I think you said something like summer 2024 possibly?
So we are summer of 24, 25, I think. It's probably more 25.
Okay.
The boiler's already been replaced and system and improvements been made to the existing infrastructures throughout the years. And so what we're exploring now is how to replace the in-room unit ventilators and take the hot water from the boiler and then fan and distribute it throughout the rooms.
Okay.
And obviously find efficiency in that system.
Right, okay. And is that wouldn't include air conditioning at all, correct? That's just our heating and
That's
boiler
yet to be
system?
determined, because you could potentially have either a dehumidification and or a cooling component in that system, but we're way too early in that process.
Okay. Just wanted to throw it out there as we get close. One more question. In regard to the plumbing issue, when the crew came in, did they say or provide any evaluation of the existing plumbing? And did they recommend an update?
For the drains?
Yes.
So
that main pipe is where was the clog?
So if you picture there's 2 septic tanks behind the building with 2 grease traps. They're fed from a 4-inch main coming out of the building. Underneath the floors throughout the building in the first floor, you have them in the second floor, obviously, as well. But underneath the floors throughout the first floor, you have 4-inch drain line.
Yep.
In the concrete. That drain line goes out, takes a turn, heads out to the tanks. So the plug was inside the building, not far from the tanks, 20 or so feet in.
Okay.
So I talked to Chris afterwards. They sent a camera up, found the problem. And they took the suction line from the septic truck, which is a 3-inch line, ran it up to the 4-inch line, found the booger, for lack of a better term, and popped it out.
Yep.
That drained the whole building. A replacement of those lines, if you were to ask that question, again, this was when you start looking at from a renovation standpoint. If you were to replace the lines in the second story, you're losing the ceilings throughout the first floor to access the lines. If you're going after the lines in the first story, we're cutting them out of the concrete. So those lines are run throughout the building inside the concrete. You would have to find them, cut them out, replace them, and or saw cut parallel path and install all new lines. Again, huge project.
So just to confirm, have they recommended anything? Or was this so?
Chris has the lines cameraed and inspected, I think annually. Yeah, so he would bring any major concerns to us.
Okay.
They router them and clean them and do whatever they have to do.
Right, nope, that's fine. I just wanted to make sure that they didn't make any recommendations. And we'll await to see if another update will come out, or a new quote will come out eventually for the HVAC. I mean, obviously, we're still in early
Yeah, I mean, from a planning standpoint and an engineering standpoint, that's 2 years out.
Okay.
on that project.
All right, thank you for confirming.
Any other public comments? Okay, then I will need a motion to go into non-public session. I guess I'll just make a motion. I move to go into non-public session pursuant to NHRSA 91A:3, small, or 2, small letter B. We do a, yeah, then we do a roll call, I believe. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.